Chapter 173, 50% intent. Kang Chon's speed was very fast, almost one step at a time, and within a breath, he passed the test. The Guardian Elder and the Law Enforcement Elder were stunned. How is this possible? Even if he had comprehended 40% of the ideas, it would be impossible for him to be this fast. At this rate, wouldn't it be a month for him to reach the top? A hint of shock appeared in the eyes of the Law Enforcement Elder. The Guardian Elder, on the other hand, was stunned. The Heavenly Tao Demon Sealing List was his magic treasure. He naturally understood the difficulty of ascending the heavenly staircase, especially after it had been increased by 10 times. Even if they were replaced by Daoyi, Wuxia, and Luce and the three of them, it would be impossible for them to have such a fast speed. Is this sun's will so strong? The Guardian Elder was shocked. At this moment, Kang Chon on the heaven ascending staircase, his mind was incomparably silent as his spirit transformed into a blade, breaking the illusion step by step and climbing up the next rung. Kang Chon, if you don't come out again, I will kill all of your Wong family. Lin Beishan laughed cruelly, and behind him were the pale faces of Ant King and the Grand Elder, as well as the images of the tragic deaths of each and every Wong family's children. If the heart is as clear as ice, the sky will not collapse. Illusions, all break for me. Kang Chon silently recited the ice heart technique. His mind was as calm as water, instantly seeing through the illusions before ascending to the next rung of the ladder. 3 years. Old me will wait for you for 3 years. After 3 years, old me will see who can still protect you. Li Laoqi's disdainful voice came out. This was the scene where Kang Chon challenged Li Laoqi. Good. For the sake of third young master, I'll let this brat live until the imperial capital. This was Li Yuanba's disdainful gaze. On Fengdu Mountain, it was the scene where Jin Sanchao stopped Li Yuanba from killing Kang Chon. Kid, blame it on the fact that you have offended someone you shouldn't have. It was the voice of the Yuanying stage powerhouse that the Zhong clan of Demon Yuan City had sent. After Kang Chon, one by one, familiar scenes appeared in front of Kang Chon. With each step up the ladder, Kang Chon encountered a different scene, all targeting his weak points of will for attack, which the average person would not be able to withstand. One step, one world. This was the test of the heaven ascending ladder. Kang Chon silently recited the ice heart skill, constantly breaking through one illusion after another. His mind gradually became stronger and stronger under the honing of these illusions, like an icy blade that cut through an obstacle. No matter what illusion realm it was, Kang Chon was able to instantly break through it, and then proceed to ascend to the next rung of the ladder. Kang Chon's speed was very fast, and after a few days, he had already disappeared from the sight of the crowd. He had already entered the 1000th rung of the ladder. In the sky above the plaza, the Guardian Elder and the Law Enforcement Elder were stunned. The two of them had incredulity in their eyes. Heart like a blade. This sun's will is surprisingly strong to such an extent. Even the average divine separation stage cultivator can't compare to him. This seat hasn't heard of Kang Chon hegemony blood's enlightenment being so amazing as well, the Guardian Elder said with a shocked expression. The Law Enforcement Elder on the side wasn't calm anymore either. He frowned and said, "This isn't too reasonable. Could it be that this kid has had some kind of miraculous encounter? Only in his 20s. How could his will be so strong?" The two of them were extremely puzzled, knowing that will could be different from cultivation, that it needed time to sink in, and could not be improved overnight. However, they didn't know that Kang Chon possessed the ice heart skill, and was stronger than many on top of his innate nature. And with these increased difficulty, heaven ascending staircase tests, his will was rising incomparably rapidly. In just a few dozen days, Kang Chon had reached the realm of heart like a blade. A heart like a blade was a mind like a sword. A mind like a sword, breaking all obstacles, and no one could stop it. And this was the reason why Kang Chon instantly cracked one illusion after another. Passed down from ancient times, the cultivator's state of mind can be divided into 4 realms: As long as you step into one of the realms, is one in a million genius. These 4 realms were heart like a blade, desirelessness, naturalness, and unity of heaven and man. These 4 realms are not divided into strong and weak, can only be said to be the different paths taken by individuals. Some people have no desire. Do not seek fame and fortune, only for the cultivation of truth. So it is easy to reach the realm of no desire is rigid. There are also Buddhist monks, sweeping the ground for fear of stepping on ants, and compassion, which is the realm where everything is natural and all beings are equal. As for the unity of heaven and man, is the Tao of heaven and the Tao of man merged into one, raising their hands and raising their feet. There is the flavor of the Tao. This kind of people sense the Tao. Progress is very fast, is a natural cultivator. Kangtian comprehended is the idea of hegemony. From the very beginning is the only one who is the only one. Take the path of a sword to sweep away the universe. So he finally comprehended the realm of the heart as a blade, the mind as a sword, cut through the delusion. These 4 realms were rarely comprehended in the cultivation world, but every person who comprehended them was either a party of supreme experts or a supreme genius. So it was no wonder that the guardian elder and the law enforcement elder were so shocked. Kangtian took one step at a time, ascending to the sky, traveling through the layers of clouds and mist towards the highest point of the heaven ascending staircase. Wherever he passed, not a single illusion could stop him. His mind was like a domineering blade, cutting through the layers of delusion. The mind was like a blade, overbearing as it was. Every time he passed through an illusion, Kangtian's mind suffered a sharpening, and gradually, his mind grew stronger and stronger. Like a sharp blade, it gradually blossomed into a gorgeous cold light. 100 steps, 1,000 steps, 1,500 steps. Kangtian had already left Jin San Shao and the others behind by a lot. He had ascended half of the heaven ascending ladder alone. His body was already in the clouds. It looked like he was stepping towards the sky step by step. Occasionally someone around woke up and saw Kangtian, who took one step at a time. He was shocked out of his voice. One face full of unbelievable look. As for Jin San Shao and the others woke up and looked at the absence of Kangtian's figure around them, one secretly sighed pervert. In the sky above the square, the law enforcement elder and guardian elder were also dumbstruck. Indeed, it is Kangtian's hegemonic blood. His hegemonic Tao has long been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Only I am the only one. Otherwise he wouldn't have comprehended the realm of heart like a blade so quickly. The guardian elder sighed. The law enforcement elder, on the other hand, said in a deep voice, "This son can be guided, not to stop his sharpness. Otherwise it will be a great danger to the heavenly Tao sect." The guardian elder nodded his head at his words. He knew that strong people who comprehended the heart like a blade realm generally had a straightforward character. The only way to cater for his character was to cater for his character, or else he would be an enemy of it. Between words, Kangtian had already ascended the 2000th step of the heaven ascending ladder. At this time, there was no more illusion around. Kangtian was immediately awakened, and then he felt a powerful idea pressing down on him. This intent reached the 10% realm, like a sharp blade, ruthlessly killing. Kangtian immediately suffered an attack. His own 40% intent immediately met the attack, transforming into a sharp blade, chopping away, immediately breaking through the obstruction. He took a step forward. Ascending ladder to 2,000 floors above is the need to test the intention. I do not know whether this kid can ascend to the peak. The guardian elder laughed. If it was the original heaven ascending staircase, with Kangtian's 40% intent, it would simply be easy to reach the top. But now that the difficulty had been increased by 10 times by the law enforcement elder, the ending would not be easy to say. 50%. As long as he reaches 50% of his intent, he will be able to reach the top. The law enforcement elder said indifferently. A hint of anticipation flashed in his eyes. The heaven ascending staircase, after increasing the difficulty by 10 times, required 50% of intent to reach the top. On top of the long heaven ascension ladder, Kang Tian held on to the boundless intent pressure and stepped forward step by step. And with every step, the intent attack he felt became 1 point stronger. By the time he reached the 3,000th floor, the intent attack that Kang Tian felt had already reached 40% of the realm. And although he was still able to hold on, it wasn't as easy as it was earlier, and sweat gradually appeared on his body. Powerful ideas swept across the sky, in which Kang Tian was like carrying a huge mountain on his back. Step by step, slowly moving upwards, his speed was no longer as fast as earlier. 40% of intent. It can't be possible, can it? If the test of the heaven ascending staircase is 40% of intent, who among those young jungles down below can pass this test? I'm afraid that of all the young jungles who participated in the Heavenly Dao Sex Apprentice ceremony, there aren't many of them who can pass this mighty test either. At the third 128th floor, Kang Tian was almost pressed to the ground by the enormous intent. But in the end, he was able to stand up, but he was never able to take another step. At such a point, even if Kang Tian was even more foolish, it was impossible for him not to see the problem. If the test of the heaven ascending staircase was so difficult, I'm afraid that even the strongest on the subterranean dragon ranking would not be able to pass it. And how many disciples would be able to be recruited by that heavenly Dao sect? It was just that no matter how much Kang Tian guessed, he couldn't guess that this was the test that the Elder of Law Enforcement was putting him through, because he didn't know that the information that he possessed the Kang Tian hegemony blood had already been learnt by the Elder of Law Enforcement. Therefore, Kang Tian could only persist and continue to climb upwards. However, at this moment, Kang Tian could no longer climb up. He felt that his intent attack had now reached the peak level of 40%, and it was already considered good that he was able to hold on and not fall down. He really couldn't go any further. Moreover, there was still more than 500 floors left in this heaven ascending staircase, and it looked like he would need 50% of his intent to reach the top. So unless he broke through 50% of his intent here, he would not be able to go any further. It looks like I'm going to stop here for a while, try to raise my intent as much as possible, and hopefully I'll be able to advance to the 50% realm within 7 months. Kang Tian stopped at this current ladder, then began to operate the ice heart technique, slowly exerting his intent and rushing upwards, using the test of intent on the heaven ascending ladder to hone his intent. This method was extremely dangerous, and one could get injured if they were not careful. But Kang Tian possessed the ice heart skill. But he was able to avoid this kind of thing, and this was the wonderful use of the 10,000 Buddhist sect Supreme Heart method. Kang Tian couldn't help but be glad that he had obtained the ice heart skill. At this moment, 1 month had passed since Kang Tian had ascended the heaven ascending stairs, and with the 4 months Kang Tian had spent in the Jiden stage space, there were only 7 months left before the 1-year test deadline. If he could not ascend to the peak of the heaven ascending staircase within these 7 months, then he would have to persevere for 3 years within the Yuanying stage space before he could be accepted as a disciple by the Heavenly Dao sect. Knowing that there were many Yuanying stage demonic beasts within the Yuanying stage space, I'm afraid that even Kang Tian wouldn't dare to say that he would be able to survive alive for 3 years within it, because if he wasn't careful, he would meet powerful Yuanying stage demonic beasts, and he wouldn't even be able to escape at that time. Those young geniuses who had failed to ascend the heavenly stairs in the square below, more than half of them had already applied to withdraw from the test, and they would be sent away from the Heavenly Dao sect, returning to their own country in a gloomy manner. As for those remaining who did not leave, they were prepared to fight for their lives, as long as they could enter the Yuanying stage space just as well after 7 months. But then all they needed to face was the test of 3 years of survival at the Yuanying stage. It could be said that these people had completely put life and death at risk. As long as they could worship the heavenly Tao sect, they would not give up, even if it was just a glimmer of hope. Boom. A month later, Kang Chon had once again ascended 100 steps again. And at this point, the intense attacks he was facing were already very close to 50% intense. The previous month, he had ascended more than 3,000 floors, but this month he had only ascended 100. The hardship of this could be imagined. This kind of intense attack, although it didn't consume Kang Chon's true essence, his heart and soul suffered a very heavy grinding. If it was an ordinary person, it would have collapsed a long time ago. If my heart is as clear as ice, I will not be shocked by the collapse of the sky. My heart is like a sword. The blade is unrivaled. Even if sweat was sprinkled all over the steps, even if the mind was very tired, even if the powerful thoughts above the head were like the surging waves in the ocean,